Now at 7.
A teenager is killed after a car crashes into a building in Baltimore County.
I'm Rachel Menitoff. Up next at 7, what we're learning about the victim and what led up to the crash.
Plus, scary moments in West Baltimore when a fire traps people inside a row home.
I said, there's somebody in there. He said, get out the way. And he, boom, ran in there.
What a witness heard someone scream from inside.
And we continue to follow the indictment of 25 Maryland correctional officers.
New details on the charges against them and what's next in this wide-ranging case.
WJZ News at 7 starts right now.
Live from Television Hill, this is WJZ News at 7.
A 15-year-old girl is dead after a driver rode onto a sidewalk in Dundalk. The teen was on her way home when the car hit her, and one person is now in custody tonight. Hello, everybody. I'm Rick Ritter.
And I'm Vic Carter.
Well, this happened at the intersection of Del Val and Holabird Avenues.
That's where WJZ is live tonight. Rachel Menitoff explains where this investigation now stands. Rachel.
Vic and Rick, good evening. The victim has been identified as Trinity Brooks. Her friends tell me she was walking home from the grocery store when she was struck and killed. She was only about a block away from her house. Police were called to a neighborhood in Dundalk for a pedestrian crash around 5:30 Tuesday night. Chopper 13 over the scene on Del Val Avenue.
It's just even hard for me to understand that she's even gone. I haven't even registered yet.
15-year-old Trinity Brooks was walking home when, for some reason, a 2006 Nissan Altima left the roadway and drove onto the sidewalk. Trinity was pronounced dead on the scene.
Our officers continued their investigation and end up taking the driver into custody. We can't confirm anything being related to alcohol or drugs at this point, but we do expect official charges to shortly follow.
The female driver remained on the scene and was ultimately taken into custody. WJZ did speak with Trinity's family, who is overcome with grief at this time. Trinity's close friend, who asked not to be identified, says she was a loving person and a caring friend to all.
How has this affected the neighborhood, the community?
All of us have been crying. Even like every parent has been crying around here. People have been putting flowers down and, respecting her. She impacted the whole community.
Police tell us the driver will appear before a bail hearing, and that's when she would be officially charged. We're live in Dundalk tonight. I'm Rachel Menitoff for WJZ.
An Annapolis man is charged with negligent manslaughter and driving while impaired. Detectives say that Patrick Tackney is responsible for killing Ernest Powell. Police say Powell was walking across a driveway and that Tackney hit him before turning into a parking lot on West Street. Authorities say witnesses stopped Tackney from leaving the scene. Tackney is now being held without bond.
Many of the 25 correctional officers arrested yesterday on allegations that they assaulted inmates in Baltimore are now free again tonight. As WJZ investigator Mike Helgen reports, the city judge feels they are not a threat to the public.
One by one, a Baltimore City judge has been releasing or granting bail to most of the correctional officers charged in a massive corruption investigation, despite pleas from prosecutors to keep them behind bars. They were part of a tactical unit working in state-run correctional facilities. According to the indictment, prosecutors say some of the officers assaulted inmates, used excessive force and intimidation, that they operated like a gang, cracking down hard on inmates to keep order behind bars. Warren Brown represents one of the officers who has yet to be arrested.
This is not Disneyland that they are working in. I mean, they're working in institutions that are harboring some of the worst, I guess, off the streets of Maryland.
Brown says some of the officers were called by supervisors to a meeting in Jessup Tuesday and arrested. Chopper 13 saw possible evidence being carted out of a correctional facility at that time.
They were the ones that would be sent into the belly of the beast to resolve issues. And so many of them didn't think anything of it. When they get there, then they are all placed under arrest.
In court, prosecutors described how one of the officers fractured an inmate's wrist, another broke an inmate's jaw. Judge Karen Freeman called the allegations disturbing, but told defendants repeatedly, "You are no longer on the job, so I don't see you as a threat to general public safety." She warned the defendants they would be under close watch while awaiting trial.
My question is, who will ever want to serve in this unit again, fearing that just carrying out their duties could lead to them being brought in handcuffed and chained into court.
About 100 friends and family members of these officers packed a second-floor courtroom here. Many became emotional when they saw them being brought out in shackles. At Courthouse East, Mike Helgren, WJZ.
Detectives are looking for answers after finding one teenager dead and another injured in Annapolis. A series of gunshots woke up neighbors on Skipjack Court overnight. Officers say they are questioning people but can't say what the relationship between the two teens was or who the suspects may be. Police identified the victim, who was killed, as 18-year-old Sandy Campos. The second victim is a 15-year-old with a gunshot wound to his leg. No word on his condition.
A former part-time police officer in Prince George's County has been charged with rape. Investigators say he raped a woman who was detained at the Fairmount Heights Police Department. Now, police say 30-year-old Martique Vanderpool and a second officer were conducting a traffic stop back in September. They detained the woman, and police say Vanderpool allegedly told the woman if she engaged in a sexual act with him, he would then release her. She complied. Vanderpool is now facing rape charges and is being held without bond.
A former Baptist pastor has pleaded guilty to a sex offense involving a teenage girl at his church in Baltimore County. Paul Gessler was in court today as Cameron Giovanelli entered his plea agreement.
The big takeaway here is Giovanelli will not have to register as a sex offender, despite facts laid out in court that he had a sexual relationship with a then 17-year-old former student at his Christian school.
But we've got to give them doctrinally.
This is Cameron Giovanelli preaching on his YouTube channel. Wednesday, the Baptist preacher was quiet and subdued as he entered guilty pleas to fourth-degree sex offense and second-degree assault. According to the statement of facts read aloud in court, the former preacher of Calvary Baptist Church in Dundalk had a months-long sexual relationship in 2007 with a then 17-year-old student at the church school. The victim came forward 10 years later after the relationship, but prosecutors moved forward with a 12-count indictment. According to the plea agreement, Giovanelli will serve 90 days in Baltimore County Detention Center, 5 years probation in Florida, where he lives now, but will not have to register as a sex offender. Giovanelli came and left court today without looking at the victim or any former members of his congregation. After the guilty pleas, his attorney took him out another court exit. More than 24 people came from the church to support the victim, who came forward last year in a blog post detailing her story. She declined comment to WJZ after the hearing, but will have a chance to read a victim impact statement at Giovanelli's official sentencing next month. Again, that sentence, 90 days in a Baltimore County jail. Giovanelli had faced up to 78 years in prison if convicted of all 12 counts. With this plea agreement, 10 of those counts will be dropped. Reporting from Towson, I'm Paul Gessler for WJZ.
City firefighters are investigating what caused a fire in a townhouse in West Baltimore.
The flames trapped people inside. A witness actually heard someone screaming for help.
Like, bro, I'm scared, please help me. I couldn't get up them steps and I wasn't gonna try because it was too hot.
Firefighters got everyone out safely from the home on North Mount Street. They are still working to figure out what started the fire. And firefighters say preliminary reports show a fire in Havre de Grace started with a child playing with a lighter. This started in the bedroom on the second floor of a townhouse, and a responding police officer had to go to the hospital for minor smoke inhalation. The fire also caused damage to the townhouse next door.
In South Baltimore, a contractor hit a gas line while resurfacing a road in the 3700 block of South Hanover Street. BGE says it caused a leak shortly after 10 o'clock this morning. They shut the gas off. No injuries were reported.
Let's just say the Ravens are hoping their prayers are heard when it comes to having some success in the playoffs.
And there's a good chance they will be if the Pope has anything to do with it. Baltimore Archbishop William Laurie was in Vatican City and added some new purple to Pope Francis's wardrobe.
When I met the Holy Father, together with the seminarians who were studying here in Rome, we presented him with a Ravens jersey. It was on the back of it, it had emblazoned at the top of it the word Francis. It was number 8. It was signed by Lamar Jackson and by Coach Harbaugh. And I'm happy to say that the Pope gave it the thumbs up. Doesn't mean he's necessarily going to be rooting for us when we inevitably get to the Super Bowl, but it doesn't hurt having the Pope have our jersey.
You got to wonder, what exactly did he say?
I would love to know. I was hoping he was going to say that. I'll tell you what, we're a lock now.
Exactly.
You might as well hang it up.
As long as he didn't say, who's Lamar Jackson?
Exactly. We're in business, okay?
Most
Miami,
definitely.
here we come.
No question at all.
All right, still ahead on WJZ News at 7. A new project wants to get commuters from Baltimore to Washington, D.C. in 15 minutes. How close it is to becoming reality.
And doctors at Johns Hopkins University are working on an experimental treatment for brain cancer in dogs. Why they believe the research could benefit humans.
Look for a sunny but breezy day headed our way. WJZ News at 7. We'll be right back.